Alright, so this is going to be the last video for today because it's like 11 something at night. Some couple of points here. The rear section is glued in. Locks are not installed. I just wanted to just like rest free, and these portions are not also glued either. Cables, rubber grommets are installed, and the cables are snapped into the rails, the window rails. They're like right here, so on the inside, of course. Now the oh god, it's late. So anyway, so it turned out to be fine except for the passenger side. So let me explain the situation. Now obviously you want to go by the seam line with the frame. The frame is right here, right? So you can see the frame. If I push with my fingers, you can see the outline of the frame. Now the stitch line, of course, and the tension, because this piece right here has no cable, so you got just plastic inserts here. So this has to be tightened up. This whole thing, the rear, this rear portion of the soft top. So at least the way I see it. I mean, okay, so I'm not an upholstery guy. I'm not a convertible replacement guy or anything like that. I'm just a guy, put it that way. Now, obviously logical thinking is to follow the stitch line, because stitch line should be nice, right? Okay, so that's what I did, center lines and everything. Now, in this area, the material here seems to be overextended, and I actually overcompensated already, and this is the best I can do. This tiny little crease is what I'm not happy about, but I did move this material so many times, and this is the best I can get it to be. Now I'll explain you, well, let me show you what I think happened, because I started gluing from the center anyway, so there is no stress on the material itself. Now this line right here, this is the end of the frame. So if you look at the end of the frame, you see the crease right here. Let me just go further, I guess. Actually, let me go further. It shows actually much better. Yeah. So there's a crease over here. So once I start gluing that material over, if I'm going to over tighten it, then the crease will show more. So that's one thing. On this side, the crease, the line, right? It's already lined up with the stitch. Okay? The stitching is right at the edge of the frame. I cannot stretch this portion of the material much at all, because, well, you know, you can't stretch it. This is not your stretcher or anything like that. This is just the material. So now here we have about maybe like 3 to 4 millimeters out on the stitching. So that means that this material, when this roof was made, it was, well, not measured correctly, if you will. Or another theory of mine is that, if you know how the sewing machine works, right? So when you sew something, if you start with this area and you keep sewing, then the material keeps building up, or the other way around. It's just pulling the material and the needle keeps sewing. So that is just that tolerance, right? So that could be that. In any event, it's still okay. It's not the end of the world. It's just that I guess I'm just very picky, but I really like stuff to be done nice. And even when I first got this material, this is a $400 roof. This is not like Chinese. This is $400 roof made in America. All right. This is not, yes, eBay, but it's not like super cheap $100 roof. You know, like $130 roof. That I don't even know how you're gonna put that thing on. If I have an issue with this, then well, yeah, the super cheap ones, they're probably like just like nightmare. All right. Now, so this is what I'm gonna do. Well, before I go there, when I first got it, I saw a little creasing here. You see these lines, and this area was also sort of like wavy. There's a plastic piece inside this corner, and that's the one that holds the corner together. Now, if you're not gonna tighten this area up, if you're not gonna do it the way it's done, then this thing is gonna flip up. So I already noticed that there is some stress on this area. So theoretically, if it's set in the sun, there is a possibility that this is going to go away. All right, so it's gonna heat up and whatnot. But obviously I'm not finished with the upper portion. It's just 2 screws holding the upper portion. 1 screw here, 1 screw here, and 2 screws to hold the front, old front. This is the old front still. This is not the new one. I just wanted to close the car up, so I don't want it to have, you know, car sitting here with just nothing, you know, no canvas at all. Right, so that's that. And the idea here would be is to play with the lock. I'm gonna move the lock upwards a little bit, the rear lock just a little bit up, and but obviously before it's all said and done, all of the inner portions have to be glued in. Now in this department here, I had to trim these areas around rivets and all of that good stuff. So the glue is setting. Yes, it is setting, but my biggest thing is the areas here, because like I said, I'm very paranoid about corners flipping because I've seen so many, and all the other areas I'm okay with. But again, as you can see, the stress mark here, that's from the material. This is not from the canvas not being installed right or whatnot. In terms of the centering is close. Yeah, maybe, well, that little cut is their reference, so this is my line. So yes, it moved just like 2 millimeters or 4 millimeters about. But the thing is, see the center line I marked, that is just a cut. The actual canvas was shifted over, so there is no, it's nothing. It's just not a big deal at all. Okay, now this is the inner part of the canvas. Now this has to be dealt with like some have to do it carefully, in other words. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the flaps, you know, the left and right flaps alone. I'm gonna do the middle section. Maybe I actually will do it like now and let it just set, center it in, and set it off. As much as I don't want to do it because it's so late, but it is what it is. Maybe I will, but no, I ain't gonna do it. I'm leaving it as it is. So my line here, as you can see, just extends slightly to that side versus this side, that line right here. But again, I'm going by stitching. That's my reference. And if you look at the stitch line, this is pretty much as good as you can get it. It's just the material that is just slightly off, because look at this. The stitch line is nice. That's what you see. That's why I go by stitch line. Well, anyway, that's basically where we are. Let the canvas sit overnight like this, and then tomorrow probably I'm gonna start working on the rest of it, because it's gonna be another project to get side windows to line up more or less. Right, so these things have to be lined up. These cables, that's another thing. I will have to play with this. These screws are just there for reference, just to hold it in place, but I might have to tighten this up more just to get the window to be more straight, because as you can see, it's not straight, it's just concaves downwards. At the back, that's it. You start with the rear. Well, at least I did. See these bulges here, that was there from the start, so hopefully they will go away after the roof gets hot or whatnot. Well, this is basically all for now. I'm gonna close it all up, get all my stuff cleaned up, because again, I still have to work with cables here. And you know, right now I'm looking at all this and I don't even know if this is going to make it, because very strange situation. It's like the material is barely there. Like, I don't know what kind of measuring they did, and if I'm gonna just go like this, that's what I have to do. So now hydraulics, they will pull, and that's gonna be something serious. There is really no adjustment here, so I don't know, that's gonna be another fun part to do this right, because I have to get this thing glued over retainers, these pieces right here. Have to clean them off the old glue, of course. And then, but I'm already seeing these issues here. It's like, I don't know, I'm already seeing these things, so it's like, but you have to start somewhere. This has to be glued in first regardless, so let this thing to set, then I'll play around with the rest, because this is like, what are the options here, right? Original soft top costs like, you know, like a kidney and a liver together probably, so that's the cost of the original top. The aftermarket tops, which is one of these, made in America supposedly, you know, so what do you have? You got this $400 one, you got like $500 one, $700 one. I mean, whatever the options are, it's just like you pick your best option, because I doubt that if I get like a $700 top, it's gonna be any better, because I know I've been, you know, it is what it is. Nowadays, this is our life. It doesn't matter how much you pay, you still get like crappy stuff. So this is not as bad, but I doubt that the other top will be any better. So either we have something like this, or I have something like this. This is the original old one, 30-year-old top with cracked window. These pieces of plastic are completely gone. I put some tape so the water does not get in there in the vehicle. So what do we choose? We choose this, keep driving like that, or we get something done and make it look much nicer. If it lasts like 10 to 15 years, that will be fine. I'll be all right with that. And I have not unpacked the upper portion yet. It's in that box underneath the the old rear section here. And as that, cables I already showed. This is the glue I'm using. It's actually pretty good glue. I tried I tried two other glues before I chose this one. This was the third choice, and I decided to go with this particular one, Wildwood contact cement, the original one, because all the others failed. And HH66, that didn't work for me. Maybe I did something wrong, whatever, but I did experiment it on different glues, and that didn't work for me. So I'm using this one. This was I bought the small sample here. I tried it, clamped it, and even without clamping it held. So that is my choice right here. This mineral spirit remover, that was okay more or less, but at the end I still ran it with alcohol to degrease it properly, because it appeared that to me that this particular cleaner left some residue, so I didn't like it. The stripper is great, no question about this this particular stripper. Very nice. That's totally okay. And brushes, I used a couple of brushes. I bought few, and I didn't even use the pads. I didn't use the foam. I used just regular $1.50 brush. I didn't even use clamps because that glue is great. So okay, long video again. This is the, I guess, part 3, and I'm gonna wrap up and continue working on it tomorrow, because again, I want to have this line straight, but that is to be done with the internal material. So you straighten that line with that material. So once it sets, you can move it around a little bit, and that's it. That's where it's going to be. So I'm thinking of letting it to be a little loose, so I don't see the stitch line to cut into the frame. So that's going to be visible. So I don't want it to be visible. So I'm probably going to be, I'm going to leave less tension on this portion in the middle, but more tension on this portion right here, because this is where cables are. And then I have to work on the rebar here. This is most important because that's how the whole roof is going to end up being. All right, this is all. Victor here, RestoreYourMercedes.com. Thank you for watching.